Good morning, Melissa.
Good morning, Phyllis. How are you?
I'm peachy. How are you doing today?
Can't complain.
That's good to hear. Were you away over the weekend?
No, I just took Friday off. I had a bunch of things I needed to get done, so
Good for you.
yeah.
Good morning, Steve. Oh, still connecting.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Good morning, Pat.
Good morning, Phyllis. Good morning, Steve. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Boo. Oh, buddy.
Good morning, one and all.
Morning, Bill.
Hi,
Morning,
John.
Bill. Hello.
Steve,
Good morning.
So we getting an opponent for Saturday or not?
Doesn't look good.
Where's my coffee? You won't have an opponent for a while, will you?
Who knows? If you can now say I don't feel like playing and not getting any trouble for it, I guess you don't have to play anymore. I don't know.
Wyomissing doesn't have opponents, Steve. They have victims.
I like that. Morning, Pat.
Morning, Bill.
That ain't gonna work.
Not sure who else we're expecting yet, so give it another minute.
Woody, are you opening back? Are you open again or not yet, or what?
Not yet. I'm not gonna open till you can have seats at the bar.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna reopen though.
I hope so.
Heard Brickstones isn't gonna reopen ever.
Isn't it?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I ran into my old chef who works at Austin's. It's part of that group. He said, nope, they're done.
Wow.
Hmm.
All right. It's 8:00. I guess we'll call the meeting to order. Melissa, just want to take a roll call. See who's here.
Sure. Keith Bear,
Here.
Tom Mole,
Here,
John Gallen. He's actually just getting ready to join right now. Steve Brunner
Here.
and Greg Portner.
here.
And there's John.
Morning.
Morning, John. Okay. Then we'll move on to public comment.
Yes, good morning. Yes, I want to say a few words this morning. And I want to propose for Mr. Brunner to set up a GoFundMe account and ask his sign denier friends who vehemently insisted to open the pool despite clear evidence that this will be a financial blunder to pitch in and replenish the lost revenue for the borough. I'm sure that his friends can afford to pitch $100 or $2. The COVID protections are like smoking. You're free to expose yourself to whatever you want. It's about what you expose other people who may not want or afford to be exposed to. We're living with a president who evidently does not understand this, and you guys seem to take example from him. And since we're at Finance Committee, we have to mention the numbers. The pool opening had a loss in revenue of $100,000 from last year compared to last year, with a total deficit to the taxpayer of $70,000 this year. Mr. Brunner's argument during the rec board meeting was that we're not supposed to expect to run recreation for profit, which everybody fully agrees, and I agree with that. However, this is true, except that if the pool would run an annual deficit of $70,000 every year, it would be discontinued very fast. This move is such a typical Republican move for which socialism is not good until it favors the rich and powerful. People cannot afford to pay for some rich kids that could not stay at home, would go nuts, stay home. There are people in Wyomissing too who are paying taxes for us, and they do not afford this money. And this was a complete blow in the face of everybody else, because you can do it, because you have this position. So how about you pitch in, because your guys have enough money to replenish that 70 grand. This is my suggestion to you, and I think it's very fair, Mr. Brunner. We should not pay that money. Thank you.
Any other comment? Okay, moving on. Go ahead, Phyllis.
All right, good morning, everyone. Cash balances at the end of September totaled 9.6 million. It was up 70,000 from the end of August, up 2 million from year end, and down 311,000 from the same time last year. Rates remain unchanged, and most of the cash is invested at the local VIST at just 0.25%.
Okay.
September added 630,000 to the year-to-date surplus, bringing the total to 2.3 million and the overall fund balance to 10.6 million. Right. When we compare September to last year, we can see that revenues continue to lag by 380,000, and we'll look at those key variances in just a moment. Expenses are significantly less than last year, not only because of the prepayment that occurred in 2019 for the fire apparatus, but also because of all the capital projects that were put on hold. The net result, when compared to last year, the borough is 1.6 million ahead. When we look at the key variances, we will see that real estate taxes are ahead, and the other variances we've discussed in each prior month continue. If we look at September, in addition to the payment or prepayment for the fire apparatus that occurred in 2019, the current month, September, included some unusual transactions. We received from the state the volunteer fire relief allocation of $60,000. That amount was received and paid to the Relief Association in the month of September. The timing is exactly as it was last year. Also received in September was the state allocation for the aid for the pension plans. That was $389,000, and we'll talk about the pension details in just a minute. Also in September, we processed 4 terminations of staff because of retirement, and one position resigned. Sergeant Ravel, Chief Beal, Kevin Lutz was the head of the Parks Department, and Rob Lewis, the Recreation Director. Final payments were processed for each one of those individuals. We can go on and look at real estate taxes. All right, real estate tax collection is pretty much on par with the prior year. Through the end of September, last year we had collected 98 of the year's total.
Hold on one second. Melissa, could you blow that up a little bit, please? Thank you.
Through the end of September, we've collected 97% of what we had budgeted. So pretty much right on target. With September, the flat period ended. Any additional collections will be with a penalty. 150,000 remains to be collected according to the tax collector's report. And that is on 175 bills. At the same time last year, only 100 bills remained outstanding. So with the, you can see 4.177 that has been collected. My best guess with 150 remaining to collect, I've projected total collections at 4,250,000, which is just slightly short of the 4,296,000 that had been budgeted. If we go on to look at assessments. All right. I've previously reported decreases in assessed values. Most of those resulted in refunds that needed to be issued. Last week, I received from the county the September abstract value report, which takes all those decreases previously reported and adds all the reassessments that occurred as the newer properties were occupied. That gives us a starting point. So when the bills were printed in January, the assessed value was $1,023,000,000. With the report I received, we were at $1,038,000,000. That is just a starting point. All the hearings that are pending, the results of those hearings have not yet been posted. To date, I've been notified of 19 residential hearings, as well as 8 commercial hearings. We previously talked about the properties along Berkshire Boulevard. Most recently, I learned that Home Depot is also under reassessment. So as soon as those hearings are processed, sometime in the next probably 2 weeks, I should receive a revised value that I estimate to be significantly less than the $1,038,000,000. Stay tuned for that information. We go on and look at net real estate taxes. Starts with the gross, adds in all the interim and changes, and deducts the discounts and the penalties and so forth. So on a net basis, real estate taxes are ahead $310,000. We go on to look at mercantile tax. In the month of September, Wilson's disbursement was just $3,000, which is not unusual. but we received nothing from Berks EIT for the Wyomissing portion of the borough. If you go one more page, Melissa, this is the report I receive on a monthly basis from the Berks EIT Bureau. They collect for us the business privilege license, the business privilege tax, as well as the local services tax. This is a situation we talked about when we were concerned about mercantile tax collect, that there was a negative result. A small amount of licenses and taxes had been collected, but the refunds issued for the local services tax exceeded that amount. The net result was 4,800 and some change. That did not require any disbursement on the borough's part. EIT will take that negative amount and apply it to future collections. So it will reduce our future collections, but it never requires a refund or reimbursement by the borough. So if you back up a page and we look at mercantile tax to date, down one page. There we go. At the end of September, we are behind 67,000 when compared to last year. Through the year end, I project total for Wilson and Wyomissing at 1,110,000, and my best projection at this time would have us behind approximately 115,000.
I'm sorry, can you say it again, Phyllis? Phyllis, can you say it again?
I project to end the year with a total of Wilson and Wyomissing at 1,110,000. Thus far, we've collected 1,079,000. So we would be 115,000 off budget. That's my best guess at this time.
Okay.
Okay. Go on to the next one. Real estate transfer tax. Through the end of September, we were behind 39,000. However, we've already received the October receipt of September collections of almost 58,000. So we are actually slightly ahead year to date. There were no unusual commercial sales. It just shows a lot of residential activity. So of the 345,000 that's been collected, my best guess to end the year would be another 20,000 for each month of November and December, for a total of 385,000, or about 15,000 off budget. Okay. Local services tax. Oh, what's next? Income tax. Oh, I didn't print that one. Okay, earned income tax through the end of September, we were behind 24. We've already received our October distribution of September collections, and we continue to be 24,000 behind.
So we lost no ground this month. Okay.
No. We go on to local services taxes. Those refunds is what caused there to be no distribution from Berks EIT. I'm concerned that that will continue to grow. My best guess to end the year, we've collected 428 thus far. My best guess with one large quarterly distribution remaining will be about 560. So I estimate about another 132,000. So that will be off significantly, over 65,000.
Okay.
Okay. There were no expenditures of a capital nature. The only thing occurred was a receipt of the second reimbursement request on the Green Light Go program. That was a program that PennDOT suspended. They did, however, agree to reimburse the planning costs that we had incurred, and the second reimbursement has been received, and so that will be all we will receive until construction resumes, and we have no indication of when that may be.
All right.
Okay. A quick look at the revised spending plan. Page 1 just shows the same Green Light Go that receipt came in. On the second page, the only new activity would be on the fire hydrants. Nothing had been done as of the end of September, but then notified me yesterday that of the 10, we indicated we would order as needed. There are 5 hydrants currently on order. That would be about 15,000. We also learned this week from Mr. Rehab, I believe that bid will be awarded at the council meeting. Their schedule, however, the work will not begin until early 2021. So of the 200,000 max, the bid came in at approximately 160,000. All of that work will occur in 2021. There will be no expense in 2020. That's all I have for September results. The details are contained in your council packages, and I believe Melissa is ready to distribute those. As always, if you have any questions on the detail, please contact me with any questions you may have.
Okay.
Any comments on September?
Anybody have any questions? Okay, moving on.
Moving on to pensions. We had been making contributions based on 25% of the estimated gap between the MMO and what we thought we would receive in state aid. That's the plan that we were following. If you go on to the next screen, you'll see that rather than the 5,100 that we had estimated per unit value, the actual unit value was only $4,924. So the state aid we received was actually 14,000 less than anticipated. So with the contributions that we've made to date and the defined contributions that we will continue to make with each payroll, we will remit the state aid, and we still have a 4th quarter contribution to make. Now, when we look at the state aid, the receipt came in on September 29th. The borough has 30 days to remit that money to the pension plan. We have, by past practice, turned that money over to the pension plan in the same proportion that it was received. In other words, we've taken the unit value per certified unit and we've contributed that amount to each one of the plans. In this case, the police will wind up behind, the fire department will be overfunded. It has not been our past practice to take over funding from one plan and use it to make up the balance in another plan. So at this time, we have 30 days to turn around the state aid. So I'm looking for approval or recommendation to keep the state contribution that has to be turned over to the pension plan by the end of the month in the same proportion that it was received, if everyone agrees to that.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Anybody have any concerns about that if we continue the way we have in the past?
No.
We are permitted to use it, but it has not been our past practice.
Okay. Then do you need do we need to take a vote? Or are we
I
just
believe it
making
would
the
be appropriate.
I'm sorry?
So
Okay.
So the motion would be to remit the state aid in the same proportion as received.
Okay. Do we have, anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
So after remitting the state aid, along with the contributions that have been made, total contributions versus the MMO for the police plan will be short. There is still a 4th quarter contribution to be made. It does not need to be made at this time. It can be made at any time prior to year end. So in addition to the contributions we have been making, which I've highlighted in yellow, which total 212,000, we need to make up an additional amount in the police plan. So I'm looking for instructions as to what to pay and when to pay the 4th quarter contribution. We can wait to December. We just want to make sure it's received during the calendar year. Do we want to revisit it or do we want to take action at this time?
I think we should wait till next month.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's not a bad idea. We'll have some budgeting done by that point, and that'll help out with the process.
Okay, so at this time, I'll make the state aid contribution in the proportion that was received, and we'll revisit the fourth quarter contribution, knowing we need to make up a small amount with a police plan.
Phyllis, if I could please, I know you probably answered this question 20 times in the years I've been involved, but what are the units certified again? What does that represent?
That represents an active employee who has been employed at least 6 months.
Okay, all right.
For each police officer, we receive 2 units. For each firefighter, we receive 2 units.
Okay.
For each non-union member, we receive 1 unit.
And I asked this question some time ago. I don't know if you had responded, but could we find out, not names, but just the numbers of each of those categories that are currently collecting pensions?
We have that information and I update that periodically.
All right, thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, I have one question. Phyllis, these amounts that we're talking about, that additional contribution required, is what gets us to the MMO.
That is what is required, correct, just
Yeah.
to reach the MMO. We can,
Gets
of
us to the
course,
minimum.
we can add any amount you want to those numbers, but we must
Right.
do at least in the police plan, 173 plus another 6.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll take this up again in November,
Okay,
except for obviously the 6342.
okay. I've also received the report from the actuary regarding the post-retirement benefit valuations. That's a report that's required for footnote disclosure in the audit reports. It's on a 2-year cycle. I just received the report this week, so I'll have some information available at the next meeting.
Okay. And I think it's worth repeating, at the last finance meeting, we discussed the levels of funding are more than appropriate at this point. So that's good for at least now. Okay.
Enjoy the moment.
I agree. I agree. Okay. Anything else, Phyllis?
I have nothing more.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything for the group? I do. I'll just get into it, but I'll wait till everybody else is done. Any other business? Okay. Phyllis, first of all, my first year being the head of the finance and admin committee, I believe we probably need to set up some dates to start to start fine tuning the budgeting process. I know that's already started internally, but with the committee. Do we want to set those dates right now, or do we want to chip dates out to some other people and get the proper dates?
We can do it now, or we can try to get a consensus as to what's convenient for everybody.
And if I remember correctly, you started this about the 3rd week of October last year.
Our first meeting last year was October 21st.
Okay. Does anybody have an issue with starting October 22nd?
Yeah,
What date-
I'm
what date are we
gone that last part of the week.
Okay.
Hopefully we won't be a day late and $1 short.
Keith, are you available on Wednesday the 21st?
Yeah, I can be. I can leave Wednesday night. Yeah.
I am not. 21st is out for me. I'm in Philadelphia that day.
Okay. Moving on. How about Monday the 26th?
That works for me.
Yeah, there's a fire and police committee meeting at 12.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, other than that,
Do we want to schedule it right before or after that?
You want to do it?
Phyllis, how long do we generally need for this first go around?
It would depend on your level of interest in the detail. What I'm planning on doing is taking the line item budget and preparing the summaries that compare all kinds of things. We have tested the ability to control the large worksheet in a Zoom meeting. Michelle, Melissa, and I tested that this week. It is possible. There's a little bit of a delay. If we can focus on the summaries, it would probably go a little more smoothly and have the detail available. I would say an hour would be adequate, but of course depending on where the conversations meander, that could double.
Yeah.
Can we do it first thing, Steve?
I don't, I can, but I don't know. Does it make sense for those of you who have meeting again at 12 that we want to do it congruent, or do you want to separate them up?
I'd rather separate them because I'm going to be gone for a couple of days the week before. So I'm only back in the office that Monday morning. So
Well, do you want to do it Monday?
I can do it any time, but I'd like some time in between them.
Okay, so our choices then would be first thing on a Monday morning, or we could do the following day on a Tuesday.
I'm okay either way.
Either way.
I'd actually prefer the Tuesday if we could.
Okay. Everybody else okay with Tuesday, the 27th at 8 a.m.?
Yep.
Yeah. Fine.
Let's book it. Now, will we, I guess this is a question for the solicitor, if we're going to do it on Zoom, I guess we all have to be on Zoom, or can some of us be in the building appropriately separated with masks on?
I don't think anybody's on.
Yeah,
Chris
Steve,
isn't on this call.
Chris isn't on the call, but I mean, based
Yeah.
off our conversation on Monday, you can be in the building as long as any document you're looking at is the same document that Melissa is displaying on the screen.
That's fair. Okay, then we can discuss that a little closer. So everybody will have the same exact information. It's just a matter of where you're viewing it from.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. All right, so we're going to start on the 27th at 8 a.m. And hopefully it'll be over by 9:15, 9:30 at the latest.
I'll do my best.
Well, I'm sure it'll be us. That won't be the problem, not necessarily you, Phyllis. Okay. One other thing, we did discuss some accounting procedures the other day, and we'll have more to come when we get through the budgeting process. But in essence, what we discussed, a couple things were sort of separating, even though we're not really separating out because we're all working on a cash basis, but looking at our operations budget on a monthly basis, and actually budgeting on a monthly basis versus a 1/12 of the year basis. We're talking about potentially setting up some reserve accounts. Again, it's not going to affect the total dollar amounts. It won't affect the overall accounting, but it'll get a little more detail on some of the expenditures that we have hit in, or some of the expenditures we postponed in 2020, but yet may have received some income for. And we'll discuss that a little bit more at that meeting, and then finalize that at the Finance Committee meeting in November. And then the third point was, oh boy, I gotta read my notes here. No, we're gonna keep, and we discussed this last year at this point, but we're gonna start all the capital expenditure projects. We're gonna have on a monthly basis, we'll be reviewing exactly where all those capital expenditures hit on their particular budget, their particular bid, and then the overall costs, so we know exactly what we're doing on each particular line item, because we do have one very large project coming up, mostly to get reimbursed through the state. But I think it's appropriate to start looking at these capital projects on an individual basis as well as a macro basis for the entire capital project budget. So looking to potentially keep the operations budget as one. How much does it cost to turn the lights on in the morning? And then the capital expenditure project as a separate item. But at the end of the day, we all know that the accounting is the accounting. It's just a matter of how we can represent the accounting on a monthly basis. Okay, any questions on that? People are making it easy today. Okay. Does anybody else have any business for the good of the order? Okay. Well, hearing none, the next budget meeting will be on the 27th at 8 a.m. and hope to see you all there.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Too.